First, I want to say my team did very well. I think so very much. Now let's talk about what's actually happening in this debate. Let's talk about things that have surprised me, and I'll try as hard as I can to put a lot of points in before my time is up. So let me just point out that Jason, and the rest of the negative side is to a certain extent, made my job, well, he brought up alcohol and brain cells, how you get new stem cells. Okay, well, bring up stuff about health. That's easy. I refer you to Brennan's wonderful expose of all the ills of alcohol. Not to say alcohol shouldn't be drunk at all, but that it does bad things to you. Like, for example, you binge drink for a night, damages your heart permanently. Fluctuation of the liver, very bizarre, but no matter. I was surprised that the libertarian argument was used frequently by the other side. I thought there'd be other stuff they would talk about, but if they really want to, let's do it. The United States is, and I also want to point out that I am going to just mention that the other facts used by my affirmative side, I do want to point out again. I think they're very useful. And actually, before the libertarian stuff, let's just go to the idea of the military, because even though I think there have been very good explanations for this, I think it sounds so good to everyone, they just want to think of it all the time. It seems like everyone agrees with it, it's so agreeable. There is a group in this country that doesn't agree with the military analogy. That is the military. The Marine Corps has a very strict policy. You can look it up if you want. There is a BAC level of 0.01, 0.02%. If a Marine gets it, they're in hot water. This is the Marine Corps. This is to promote, I guess, a kind of unified group, the National Institute of Health, stating it's to deal with being more physically resolute in your work. So I find that bizarre. Now, I do not appreciate, we do not appreciate, how morality is attempted to be made a question of equivalence in this debate. I'm very sorry for Mr. Bailey in Colorado. I'm also sorry for the thousands and hundreds of thousands of mothers who have had to see their BMWs split up and their sons and daughters less a person than they were perhaps a few hours ago. Now, we haven't spent a lot of time talking about gratuitous stories of murder and destruction along the Salem Highway, but we bring up Mr. Bailey, we're going to have to bring this up. They bring up the idea that morality, if you take a lot of the arguments of theirs and wrote, it's the idea that liberty is the highest virtue. That is false. It simply is. We believe that the public drinking age is a question of public health. We look at the other things like cigarettes, also things used in the analogy of you're 18, and clearly alcohol is what leads to all these, issues of the policy. Now, I also just want to make one last point. The negative side apparently never brought up the statistics, so I will. Jason brought up a bizarre one from the 90s. Here are the facts. 70s brought in a era of uninhibited drinking, blood corners between state borders. This brought us to a period where the National Minimum Drinking Age Act was passed. What did we see as decreases? We saw, between all the ages group, we saw young people, 61%. 21 to 24, 56. This is indicative of something. It's indicative of education, perhaps, deterrence. We'll take that, thank you. It's our side as well. We don't believe in chipping away the fabric that led to this law working. We do think that prohibition on this small scale did work. And please do not compare it to the 1920s, please. You do not see the decreases in drinking that we saw during that time. Do you know which state was the least, had the largest decrease? Number one in the nation after this law was passed. New Hampshire. It was something like Oh, let's look, 95.4%. States like New York were 83. The lowest decrease was 18% for Mississippi. So I think that's good for statistics and good of the effectiveness of the law. And I guess to end, if you believe that this is a public health concern, if you believe that there's some kind of social contract and that we should be doing something about this issue, I believe that you should follow the adage that if it ain't broke, don't fix it, which is what we've been seeing in the policy, which has been unquestionably leading to it staying 21. And there I rest my case.